up, Trey? How you doing?
Pretty good, Trey. How you doing?
Good. It's always a pleasure talking to another Trey, even if you spell your name a little bit cooler than mine.
Yeah, cool. Some say cool, some say, white trash here. But yeah, at least people get your name right, when they write it out, typically. Are you the third?
I am, yeah. My
Yep.
name sounds a lot more regal than my upbringing was. I'm Ronald John Elling the third.
Yeah,
How about you?
fancy
Did you
stuff.
are you a third, or did your dad just like the name, or your mom and dad just like the name?
They just like the name. My buddy Drew always tells people that it was my mom got the idea from the thing she was snorting lines of pills off of when I was conceived. But so yeah, but yeah, no, they just liked it and just thought the spelling was cool, and that's pretty much it.
Well, mine is a strange path to this name too, because my dad is Ronald John Jr. and the original is Ronald John, not even Senior. That's just what his name was. And so my granddad went by Ron, and my dad went by Ronnie. And when they were deciding to name me after my dad, they were like, "Well, what nickname can we call him? Because the granddad's Ron, you're Ronnie, so what can we call him?" And at first they said RJ for Ronald John, and my dad is like, no, I don't want people to mistake him for a black guy before anybody ever meets him. So they went with Trey instead, which
Hmm.
is a name that is definitely cross cultural. So I appreciate
Yeah,
my dad's subtle racism leading me to
sure.
a better name than RJ would have been.
Well, it's funny you say that because I'm the only other TRAEs that I've ever met or been aware of were black guys. The only ones that have my spelling of Trey in particular. So
Trey Young is the only other one that I can think of, I guess.
yeah, there's an R&B singer from the 2000s whose name was Trey the Truth or something like that.
Oh
What
yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that guy, he spelled it TRAE, and then I've just ran into a couple others here and there. But
Yeah, I've always
yeah.
hypothesized that if there three Treys ever have a conversation together, the world might come to an end. So, hey, maybe a third
Well,
Trey just randomly pops onto this conversation and we're all screwed.
puts us all out of our misery. All right. Yeah.
That's
But
right.
yeah, let's do it, man.
Yeah, so you are in California. Are you based in LA right now? Is that where you are?
Burbank specifically.
Burbank. Okay. So how are things in Cali right now? I know that's just like any other great place, major city. It has its ups and downs, and people got a little bit down on LA a few years back, but it does feel like there's a serious resurgence happening in that area right now.
I mean, I don't know if I'd say resurgence. I mean, look, I think that a lot of the problems with LA have been overblown and stuff, but I'm a comedian and there was a mass like comedy exodus from here to your town in large part, not that, yeah, a few years ago. And that hasn't really like swung back the other way or anything from my perspective yet, but it's still just the same thing. If you're in the Hollywood world, it's all the same BS. Just everybody's just talking about, things they might do, scripts they might write, and that type of thing, and sitting in traffic and going back and forth to the airport and all that. But, weather sure is nice. And I'm from a town called Salina, Tennessee, with no traffic lights, no McDonald's or anything like that. So it's like when I go to Cleveland, I'm like, this might as well be Venice or Paris. You know what I mean? So like for me, compared to what I'm used to, LA's pretty uptown stuff. So I like it.
Well, I'm glad you pronounced it correctly because there's a Salina, Texas too. But of course, everybody wants to go Selena with that name.
So the one in Texas, it is Salina, the one in Texas.
I thought it was. Maybe I'm
No,
wrong.
you might be right because everyone always, when they see my hometown written, they always say Selena as well, and I always tell them like, look, I'm sure we are wrong. We say a lot of things wrong in that part of the world, but we call it Salina. So, and I knew there's one in Texas. I think there's one in Ohio too, but I didn't know how either of them pronounced it.
Well, there's
So,
also a Palestine, Texas, but they pronounce it Palestine.
yep, there's a Lebanon, Tennessee, which is Lebanon, but Lebanon.
Yeah.
There's a Lafayette, you know, Versailles, Kentucky is a favorite of
Oh,
mine.
is that
Like
right?
Versailles, but it's Versailles. Yeah, so that's a thing we like to do. Switch it up, differentiate yourself from the more famous one. At least I get it.
Yeah, I guess just put a slightly different accent on it and call it your own.
Yeah, hey. It's what I do, baby.
So, you being out in the LA area, what would you consider your home club? Is it the store? Is it the Irvine Improv? Is it the Ice House? Someplace completely different? What do you call home out there?
Well, I'm on the road a lot. When I'm not on the road, but pretty much the improv, the Hollywood Improv is where I go up at out here when I'm in town, but not exclusively. I mean, I'll do sets at the store, and like I said, I live in Burbank, so there's a club here called Flappers, which I also dig. Largo, I don't know if you're familiar with Largo, but I do stuff there too. But probably most frequently the improv.
Okay, and you got your start in Knoxville. What is the Knoxville comedy scene like? Knoxville, Tennessee.
I mean, when I started there in 2010, there at first there wasn't one. There was one club there called Side Splitters. They had an open mic every other Wednesday. So if you're a new comic, you could get up twice a month in Knoxville. But right after I started in 2010, that was sort of the beginning of the second kind of like the very, very nascent stages of the second comedy boom or whatever, because then people started making a lot of like bar shows and alt shows and stuff. So within a couple of years of starting in Knoxville, you could get on stage, once you could get up like pretty much every night of the week if you were like established there. So that was much better than it had been. But I honestly don't know what it's like now because that club closed down years ago. No one's ever put another club in Knoxville, which I've always thought was kind of odd. I feel like it could support one, I think, but so I don't think it's great. But it went through a little kind of renaissance there, relatively speaking, when I was a young comic.
Well, I feel like because Knoxville's a college town, it should at least have one decent club there because there's a bunch of aspiring comedians in that student base.
Yeah, 100%. No, I agree. I don't know. When Side Splitters was closing down, a group of people came in that were gonna buy it from the previous owner and try to keep it going, but then those two parties got into some big whatever. They both felt like they were getting screwed over by the other one. That fell through, and then it just never nobody else ever did it. So I don't know why. Because it's not like there's also, there's not a club in New Orleans, right? But like, and I've loved the city of New Orleans, but it's not a great comedy town. But I've always thought, like, I kind of get that. It's got other things going on. You go there, you get drunk, you eat mud bugs, you listen to jazz, whatever. It's like you don't need comedy. But a town like Knoxville, I mean, yeah, I've always thought it could work, but I don't know. I'm pretty business dumb, so there might be some underlying numbers reasons that it isn't making sense to people. I'm sure they've looked at it, but I don't know.
I realize that you have to take anything you read on the internet with a large grain of salt. Anywhere from 5 to 95% of what you read is complete BS. But the internet told me you have an MBA from Tennessee Tech. Is that not true? Business stuff?
Yeah, yes, yeah, yeah. No, it is true. I know, but that doesn't, I mean, it's funny. I didn't know you've done your research. I didn't know you were going to know that when I said I was business dumb. But it's even sadder because I do have an MBA, but also am pretty business dumb because I'm in show business and like a lot of comedians, not all of them, some of them are very savvy, but I'm not great at the business part. And sometimes some people might say I'm not that great at the show part either, but I do my best. But really, the MBA was purely a practical decision for me because I knew then that I wanted to do comedy. That's what I wanted my profession to be, was a comedian. But I also knew that you can't just, I knew that you'd have to like struggle through that and figure it out. But I'd grown up poor and everything, and I had no interest in being like a starving artist. That whole starving artist thing was not romantic to me at all. So so I got an MBA because I was like, this will give me the best chance at getting a job that pays pretty well and has like health insurance and stuff while I'm moonlighting as a comedian and trying to figure that out. And then that's what ended up happening. But yeah, I don't remember any of it and have no natural aptitude for it whatsoever.
Well, I would assume part of that appeal to the NBA also had to do with, and I know you've talked about this in other interviews, where you were on your own from the age 18 going forward. So at a certain point, you're like, man, I've made it this far with a sort of learned knowledge about this whole thing, but I'd like to go to school to figure out the quote unquote right way to go about all of this business, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, like I said, I grew up poor and everything. So yeah, I was completely on my own financially from the age of 18. Like I didn't have anybody I could ask for money or any kind of safety net or whatever. But that more so, that just strengthened my resolve to not have to worry about money as much as I could avoid it, i.e., by not waiting tables as a comedian and doing that whole thing. But I did, while I was in business school, I mean, I did get into and enjoy a lot of it, but that was, 15 years ago or whatever. And it's just kind of gone now. But you said learn the right way to do this stuff. I still, at that stage of my life, didn't even really have my head wrapped around just how much I didn't know about all that. You know what I mean? Because when you grow up in like a situation like I did, you don't realize you have no frame of reference. You don't realize what all you're not taught and what all you don't know about money and the way people with money operate and the way they keep it and all that stuff. And so at the time I was making that decision, I still didn't even really understand that about myself yet.
So if the internet is also telling the truth about your undergrad degree, you got a psych undergrad degree. I've
Hmm.
spoken with other comics. Hassan Ahmad is one who comes to mind who had a psychology background. He actually admitted that that comes in handy on stage. Do you think about any psychological techniques as you're crafting your act or thinking about your delivery or anything that you're doing on stage that harkens back to learning about psychology as an 18 to 22-year-old?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think about it in any kind of real way. I'm not saying some of it's not there subconsciously, but even that's like a chicken and egg thing because it's like I was had an interest in all that to begin with, which I think is part of the same thing that made me have an interest in doing comedy. I think they're related, being interested in people and the human condition and all that stuff. So I think it's more that than it is that I like actively think about it or use it now, But I already knew I was going to get an MBA. My Tennessee Tech College I went to had a program where you could major in something else, minor in business, pass some tests, and then go to business school and get an MBA. And so knowing I was going to do that, I picked psychology just, because I liked it, basically.
Yeah, I dig that one also. I just didn't like the idea of having to go to extra school to make anything of yourself professionally as a psychologist.
Right. Yeah. No, that was never like I said, I had that sort of planned out to do the NBA thing anyway, but you're right. If it wasn't for that, I would have picked something else because you can't. I mean, even my psychology professors told me when I was in their classes and said, they were like, with a bachelor's degree in psychology and, $5, you can get a cup of coffee at Starbucks or whatever, like that old cliche. So like, they're pretty straightforward about it as far as this ain't going to do much for you if you don't take it further.
Yeah, I think that the psych class I took, the teacher was like, "This degree will get you a job waiting table. So
Hmm.
be prepared for more school or think of something else." So you and I not only share a first name, Trey, but we also share a quality as kids. We were both fat kids. My favorite
Yeah.
disgusting snacks as fat kids. Is there anything that you absolutely loved as a fat kid that you think back now and you just cringe at the thought?
Oh, I mean, so many things, but I think the things that would bother most other people, I think, are like also related to the poor rural white trash version of a fat kid. So like potted meat, potted meat is like I call it like trailer pate, because it's like it's funny because pate is like a fancy French thing, and but potted meat's just like the version of that they sweep up off the slaughterhouse floor and turn into pate. But yeah, it's just like a meat goo in a can that you put on saltine crackers with some hot sauce. But I did that just, big Velveeta or off-brand Velveeta guy, melting that over some like microwaved hot dogs and just shoving them in my face. Vienna or Vienna sausages. But yeah, Vienna, we call it. There's all kinds of canned meats. The only one that really has stuck with me throughout my adult life, honestly, is I still like some Hormel chili or some canned chili from time to time.
Okay.
That's the rest of them I've aged out of or grew out of or whatever with a lot of them. But that one, I don't know, there's still something about it.
Beans or no beans in the chili?
No beans for me.
Thank you, guy. You're gonna fit in really well in this city.
Yeah, no, I've always thought that the beans, whether canned or more legit versions of chili, it's like the beans are just taking up space that could be better occupied by more meat or whatever. I just,
Yeah, I didn't ask for bean soup. I asked for chili.
yeah, no, I'm with you. I like what y'all are about chili wise down there. I mean, if I'm in another place and they put beans in their chili, I mean, I'm not, again, fat kid, I'm pretty non-discriminatory, but my preference is no beans. But yeah, no, it's a yeah, fat kid. It's a thing like even more than even the more than like the poor kid and the drug addict mom and all that stuff, which don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's plenty to unpack there on a therapist couch, but like the fat kid stuff is the stuff that I feel like sticks with you more, or at least for me. I feel like you kind of never really get over that. I think,
I attribute that to my desire to stay fairly healthy as an adult.
right.
I have a pair of, this is way too much information. I apologize, but you can relate. I have a pair of underwear that when I'm feeling really bad about myself and want to get back on the wagon dietarily or working out wise, it's like a size too small
Hmm.
regularly for me. I'll just wear that around for the day and just be completely disgusted with myself at the end of 12 hours. And it usually is a pretty good motivator.
That's yeah, you got to have that shame and self-disgust, which isn't hard to come by when you're a fat kid or former fat kid like we are. You feel that most of the time anyway. But if you can induce it further, like you were saying, it does help. But I kind of do that, but without that's when I know, like you said, I got to get back on track or whatever, is when, things start to get like like I refuse to buy more clothes because I have fatted myself out of the clothes that I have. Like I won't do that. So if I'm on a fat, which I've had many adult fats too, probably 5 to 7 of them, and I'm 39 now. If I'm on a fat and I get to a point where my shirts are like, oh man, this is tighter. I can barely button my or zip up my jeans or whatever. I go, okay, it's time to I refuse. I'll just wear these looking like crap and wearing them too tight until I can get back down into a reasonable area because I refuse to go, buy more clothes that actually fit. That's like a rule that I have for myself, and it's served me pretty well. It's kept me from getting completely out of control. So,
I really start to feel it in the armpits more than anywhere else when I start to get back to it's not the total Oprah Winfrey expansion and reduction, but it when the balloon starts to blow up, man, my armpits, it's
do you
like
mean
they're
like right, like here
yes,
under your yeah,
absolutely, like right
yes.
where the underarms are.
Yeah, right. It's like the back titty, sort of like this to the side of your
Yeah,
your
exactly.
man, the back that back fat down there that forms into like a boob on the backside when you sit a certain way.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. That's you're like, oh God,
It's
what
not
is
even
happening?
side boob, it's like side back boobing.
Side back boob. Yes, I know all about the side back boob. 100%.
All right, something that is only slightly less shameful than fat kidisms is loving the, I guess now Vegas Raiders. But did I read correctly that you're a Vegas Raiders fan? How the hell did that happen for a kid from small town Tennessee?
So again, I'm 39. So when I was a kid, like a little kid, up until I was like 12, I think, Tennessee didn't have a professional football team, but obviously football in general is huge there. So like I always liked football, even from like literally as long as I can remember being alive. I liked football. When I was a kid, I had an older first cousin who was like 5, 6 years older than me, who I really looked up to a lot, and he was a burgeoning felon and drug addict. So obviously, big Raiders fan. He loved the Raiders, and so and so as a little kid, I was like, "Oh, me too. That's who I like too. I like the Raiders too." And then and then it just never went away. I mean, what really happened is that when I was like high school age and young adulthood, they were good. That was the last time they were good. It was young John Gruden and Rich Gannon and old Jerry Rice and Tim Brown and Charlie Garner and all Bill Romanowski and Warren Sapp and Rod and Charles Woodson and all these guys. And like it just that locked me in. And by the time I was old enough to like legally drink a beer to celebrate a Raiders victory, it's just been nothing but despair and anguish ever since, basically. But I do like I also like the Titans once they showed because that same thing they showed up, went to the Super Bowl, lost by a yard. All my buddies were into that, and so was I. And I'm a huge Tennessee Vols fan, which same thing. They were good when I was a kid. Then they've been awful for most of the last 20 years until the Heupel era finally. But there's still been heartbreak with that too. So yeah, I really got duped into my like football fandoms as a young man and then just tortured by them for most of adulthood. But, builds character.
Yeah, that's what they say. It builds character rooting for year after year. Well, you're right that Heupel does feel like Tennessee's in a better place, but y'all got completely screwed over by a selfish quarterback this offseason. So now you're hitting reset in a sense.
Yeah, and that's obviously that sucks, but it would have been one thing if Nico had like lived up to the hype last year,
Yeah.
that still would have been not cool that move, but it would have been like he's kind of got us over a barrel. What are we going to do? Type of thing, but he wasn't. I mean, he had like some moments, but he wasn't the guy he was supposed to be, and so to have that season and then do that, it was like. Well, there's no choice to be made here. Like Heupel did the only thing that he could do, and it does suck having to go back to the drawing board with a quarterback, and they're still trying to figure it out right now. But a lot of people, everyone in the Tennessee fandom is definitely supportive of how it went down, and on Heupel's side, I feel like because we just understood, what choice did he have? So it does suck.
Well, and you're exactly right about Nico too. He was adequate at times, but he really did a lot of stat padding, excuse me, in games against really bad teams. And when you guys face good competition, I forget the running back's name. If y'all's running back wasn't really good, y'all were in deep trouble. So for him to
Yeah,
basically,
Samson,
yeah,
Dylan
Samson,
Sampson.
thank you.
Yeah.
So for you guys to have been held hostage by a kid who was just looking for a much bigger payday, despite the fact that that issue had supposedly been covered earlier in the offseason, is so ridiculous. And I know there's not going to be many Vols fans who are rooting for him at his new home now.
No, definitely not. And when that was all happening, I had shows in Eugene, Oregon, and I actually went and did like a tour of their facility there because I like knew a guy who knows the quarterbacks coach there or whatever, and he gave us this tour, and obviously it was super impressive. We all know they got all that Nike money. It's crazy up there. But it's crazy in Austin too, I'm 100% certain. But still, and on that tour, that was all happening, and I asked the guy, the quarterbacks coach, I was like, what do you all think about this and think about this, whatever? And he was like, oh, dude, Josh Heupel's saving college football right now. Like everybody's watching this, wanting him to, he make sure he does the right thing because the precedent this would set otherwise is just something that we can't have. So like, everybody's got his back in this, and we don't know what the hell Nico's doing or whatever. So that made me feel better about it. But if we're getting whipped by Florida and Alabama and everybody again this year in the fall, I'm just going to be more mad at Nico, but I'm not going to be soothed overly much by the knowledge that we handled it the right way as an organization. I'm still going to be throwing stuff off my back porch and everything, after a lot. So but again, I'm used to it.
Yeah, moral victories don't matter when the actual wins and losses are occurring in the fall.
Yes, absolutely. But like the Heupel era so far has obviously been leaps and bounds beyond anything post Fulmer up until he got there. So we're all grateful for that and digging that for sure. So we'll see. I'm not writing them off or nothing. It's the thing. They just like unknown quantities with what's going to come out of the quarterback competition. How that's going to you would like to think that that'll lead to some cream rising to the top, and then it ends up being who knows, addition by subtraction or a diamond in the rough situation or something like Hendon Hooker was, a few years ago, been a cast off from Virginia Tech and all that, and wasn't supposed to be the starter to begin with. That's probably too high hopes to have. And it's also copium that I'm huffing, but it could be, it could be all right. You never know.
Oh man, you and I share names. We share the fact that we were former fat kids. We also both have a couple of kids as adults. I have a 11 and 9-year-old daughter and son. You have two sons around the ages of 14 and 13. What do you love about fatherhood, Trey?
Oh, all of it. It's great. I've been melancholy and feeling bittersweet recently because I got two close friends who are my same age, but they just had their first children in the past like 2 or 3 years. Their sons are like two-ish now. And that has just made me, I'm all the time looking at my sons like, where did the time go? Can't believe you were this big. I could hold you. And I'm reading stuff on the internet, shower thoughts on Reddit or whatever to say things like, one day you'll pick your child up and put them back down for the very last time. You'll never pick them up again, like, and just like starting to cry. So like, I'm real sentimental about all of that, but also this era, is also super awesome for me because like so my son, like you said, they will be 13 and 14 soon in a couple more months, but I've been showing them like, you know, Aliens and Predator and Terminator 2 and all these types of movies, Tremors, The Thing, like movies that I loved when I was a kid that like, they're old enough now for or whatever. And, they've been digging it and we play video games together and all this stuff that you can't do when, they're babies. They can appreciate things better and they've got like senses of humor and everything. So, and look, I'm staring down the barrel of like hardcore puberty, teenagerdom, screw you dad type stuff, bedroom doors getting slammed and everything. I'm sure that's right around the corner, is what everybody tells me. But so far, it's all been great. I've loved different things about every stage of it. So we'll just see how it goes from here, I guess.
Eventually, you're gonna be thinking, "Well, I don't remember the last time my son willingly hugged me." Now that he's full on into puberty and he hates my ass.
Yeah, they're already too cool. Even as middle school boys, it's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" If but they'll allow me to hug them, but they're already past any kind of like affectionate stuff. That's already like gross and weird and cringe to them. But like I said, it's all in the game. Yeah, I have to like, I had to like tone it way down early on in fatherhood for me because I was kind of that insufferable type of person who's always talking to people about how great it is to have kids. Now you got to have kids. It used to always bother me too because they would then talk about it like it's like all your friends with kids want you to be miserable too, and it's like I'm not miserable. I don't want you to be miserable. Like I'm telling you, it's great and I love it, but they interpret it as like yeah, they just want to they want us to have to miss music festivals too now or whatever. And it's like, well, there's just a lot more to it than that, which is what I'm trying to explain to you, but you can't make somebody explain it who hasn't experienced it, no matter what you say. So I finally just had to chill out with that and not talk about it unless somebody brung it up.
It is really funny though, because I feel like all parents, or maybe not all parents, there's nothing is that binary, but a lot of parents, if they meet somebody who has made the decision not to have kids, are like, wow, good for you. That's awesome. Congratulations on getting to be a free, hopefully rich adult and not have to really answer to anybody for the rest of your life. So there's like the
No,
positivity going in the other direction. But when you're talking about those who have made the decision not to have kids, it's almost like a screw you for having kids attitude. It's like, can't we reciprocate this positivity towards one another?
yeah, no, I'm with you. It is weird. People are kind of all over the place. When I see other parents and stuff online, or even people I know who, joke, and I know they are joking. It's like, of course I love them. It's just a thing you say type deal. But when they, act like, listen, don't ever have kids, whatever you do, like that type of thing. Like I've just always the whole time I've always been like from the very beginning for me, and I had my kids young, white trash. I mean, I was 25, which by white trash standards is ancient, but like by comedian standards, might as well have been a baby myself.
Yeah.
And from the very beginning, I was always like, is it me? Like what like are y'all like am I experiencing all this differently than you guys do or something? Because like I don't feel that way at all, man. And so many comics who did have kids and stuff, all their bits were about like, oh, they're fun vampires. They rob you of your youth. They ruin everything. They ruin your wife's boobs. Even they chew on them. They what like it all that. And again, the whole time, and the crowds would be laughing and stuff, but I'd always be in the back like I just don't. It's just not how I feel about any of this. And so, for that reason, actually, for years and years, I never really had any like parenting bits. But that was the main reason why, is because I felt like that was the version that I'd always seen was something like that seemed to work. And so, like I said, I was like, I don't even, it seems like I'm not everybody's on the same page as me with all this. So I just didn't really talk about them until recently. I've started bringing them up a little bit. But it also feels different now because they're older. They're old enough. They know what I do. And like I could talk to them about it. They, like I'd razz them to their face. I'm not saying anything that I feel like I'm betraying them by saying. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So there's that too.
Have your sons watched your new special, Trash Daddy?
If they have, I'm not aware of it. I'm definitely not going to watch it with them for sure. I'm not going to like stop them from watching it, but I can't even watch. I hate watching myself do anything in any context, let alone with my kids in the room because the generational differences and senses of humor and stuff is pretty crazy. Because I mentioned those movies earlier. You notice I didn't mention many comedies. That's because like I've had disappointing reactions from some of my comedy jams from back in the day, and it's hard for me to accept. So like I don't know. They're just like to me. I was like 11 or no, even younger when Dumb and Dumber came out, and I was like, this is the funniest movie of all time. And to my son, they were like, it was mid, like, like
Oh,
everything is mid. Yeah, but yeah, and I was like, I just don't. So I'm not ready for them to. I'm not ready to hear their honest assessment of my comedy right now, anyway. But also they just don't care, which that part's fine with me. Meaning like they're not like impressed by it at all. So, and that's good because it keeps you humble. So, yeah, we're not there yet, but I'm probably going to take them on the road with me before too long and make them like sell merch and stuff, because that's obviously one of the all-time upsides of having children is you get free labor out of the deal or whatever. And so I might start taking advantage of that when they get a little bit older. And so then, we'll go from there, I guess.
that's right. Indentured servitude from the age of
Yes.
like 9 to 16 or 17.
Part of the deal. I used to be like, I feel like that was the main reason people had kids is for like farm purposes, or even before that, like serfdom purposes in feudal England, like help you get the harvest in so you don't get put in the stocks, so better have a 11th child. Uh, so yeah.
Jeez. All right, last question now, Trey, and thank you again for the time today. I love stand up. You love stand up comedy. What do you love about stand up?
Well, I mean, in terms of doing it, I mean, I was that a lot of comedians like this from the very first time I was on stage. I had like the bug. It's that first time before I was even done with the first set. I was like, oh, I'm going to be doing this for a long, long time, if not forever, because it's just like the high or whatever you want to call it that you get from the experience of being on stage in front of a crowd and doing well or having a crowd in the palm of your hand or, killing, as we say, is like it genuinely is unlike anything else. So that's what I like about doing it. And there's a lot of things I like about doing it too. It's a life less ordinary. I'm not at my day job anymore. You provide, you give people an outlet for laughter, and all of that is all great. As I was a comedy fan and like a comedy nerd forever, like as a kid, like before I ever started stand up, and still am. And so from that perspective, what I've always liked about it is that feeling of watching somebody, like watching a comedian and they say something and you're like, oh, that is exactly right, but I just hadn't thought about it that way before. Like I love that. I love the way comedians question things, question authority, question the way things work. I was all my favorite comics growing up were always people that like talked about real stuff, if you want to, put it that way, but who like talked about difficult subjects and found a way to make it funny. I've always really respected and admired that. So yeah, just a ton of stuff, man. It's like I said, it's been a huge part of my life for almost the entirety of it, in one way or another.
Well, Austin's in for a big treat this weekend with you in town at Cap City Comedy Club. A show on Thursday at 7, 7 o'clock show on Friday, two shows on Saturday, 6 and 8:30, and a show on Sunday at 6 o'clock. Go to capcitycomedy.com to snag tickets while they remain. Also, check out Trey's work through his website, traycrowder.com. And you can now watch Trash Daddy for free on YouTube. Came out a few months back. Trey, this has been a real honor and pleasure. Thank you so much for the time today, man. Safe travels to and from Austin this weekend.
Oh, thank you, Trey. It was great. I appreciate you having me.